Another cheeky little social media interview with the Romford Film Festival. Again, they said we would never have a physical festival this year. We're having one. It's happening. We're having screenings all over the place. This is awesome. Tonight, I'm speaking to director Melody Miller of documentary called Ruth Weiss Beat Goddess, which is a documentary about a 90 plus something beat poetry, just awesome woman. We're going to get into this in a little second, but first of all, how are you, Melody Miller? How are you tonight?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so honored to have my film premiere at the Romford Film Festival, and really happy to be speaking with you and potential audience members for our screening tomorrow. I'm doing all right. During COVID-19, the film industry pretty much died, and so for the first time, I have a job that I'm going to today that I am so grateful for, and I'm gonna finally be able to film again a documentary. It's gonna be social distancing. I'm gonna have masks on. I'm only gonna have one crew member, but I am just so grateful that I could get back out and film again, because I've been cooped up inside, social distancing, keeping safe, focusing on my current movies that I already made, but just being behind the camera again, being creative, filming again, it's just warms my heart.
Let's quickly jump on that, because it's a question that I've been asking pretty much anyone I've been speaking to within the industry recently, is the way the movie world, the industry just stopped. It just came to a standstill, and sets were abandoned and movies have been abandoned from release and everything like that. But what I have been finding is that a lot of creatives like yourselves have been finding ways, like creative ways of getting through this whole lockdown, of figuring out how they're going to be on the other side of this lockdown. So I kind of wondered, is there anything that you've been doing, like to get the creative juices flowing, or anything that's maybe potentially good come out of this?
Yes, so I think time to slow down and refocus definitely came during COVID-19 to me, as I was able to really focus on the 2 feature films I've already directed and actually create an impact campaign around them. So the first one I directed, California's Forgotten Children, is about child sex trafficking. And so I did virtual screenings with the public, and I collaborated with local nonprofits that help youth who have been commercially sexually exploited, and I fundraised several thousands of dollars to help children's hospitals and homeless shelters, and actually an organization in the UK called the Survivor Alliance that helps survivors of child trafficking and human trafficking. So that was something big for me, and I also created an educational curriculum component and designed that for our online platform. And then for Ruth Weiss, we just created a nonprofit in honor of her name, and we will have an annual scholarship grant to poets, writers, artists, musicians, dancers, and filmmakers every year in honor of her name. If you need help paying rent, if you want to do a project, the funds from her book sales will go to help artists who are in need. In addition to that, I'm designing a museum exhibit also in honor of Ruth Weiss, and we're partnering with the Grace Hudson Museum and hopefully a couple others. And we're going to have an exhibit of her haiku, her poetry, her life and legacy in order to celebrate her. And a part of that, we're hoping to have live jazz music and poets, and we want it to be a pop-up and travel and hire musicians in local cities, hire poets in local cities, and really just bring everyone together when COVID ends. But I am planning it now, and I'm willing to go virtual even if things don't look up in the future. So I'm adapting, I'm innovating, and I'm just keeping up with the times, because us filmmakers right now, whatever we do, whatever we're learning, whatever we're building is going to determine our future and the future of filmmaking. So it's time to reinvent and adapt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's something that I've said a couple of times to other people when I've been doing these interviews, is the way creatives have been getting their work out during lockdown is fantastic. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I attended a virtual reality, with the virtual reality headsets. A British independent director that I'm a big fan of, they decided that they were going to premiere their movie in virtual reality, which sounded bonkers to me. It just sounded like, what are you on about? You can't do that. It's not going to work. But I bought a headset. I attended the virtual reality premiere, and what you guys are doing to bring your projects, even in these times, is fantastic. It's great to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. It definitely, virtual reality before COVID-19 was starting to go away. I had worked on a couple of projects in 2018, but I think it's definitely coming back now as filmmakers are looking for ways for people to keep safe and watch their films. And also with at least virtual reality 360, you don't need a lot of people on set. It's kind of like being a outdoor photographer. You look at the lighting of the room, you look at where to place the camera, and then you go hide behind a wall. And then the characters come in, and then you stitch it together and see what happens. So.
It's madness. It's a madness, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens next. So yeah, this documentary for the Romford Film Festival that we are showing, I believe we've already shown it. We're going to be showing it again. It was just universally loved. We all the guys on the selection panel, we all thought this documentary was fantastic, myself included. I like a documentary, but sometimes I can get a little bit turned off, especially if I'm not 100% on the subject matter. This was a subject I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about Ruth Weiss, but the way you told her story and the way she told her story in the documentary, the creative way that you used animation and interpretational dance and everything to mix it all in, you had me hooked from the word go. I think this documentary is fantastic. But what I wanted to ask you was, what inspired yourself to make this documentary about a 90-plus-year-old beat poet, jazz poet?
Well, I was invited, it was all serendipity. I was invited to one of her performances in San Francisco at the Monroe, and it's this small bar, and they had set up a stage, and Doug O'Connor and Rhett Romas and Hal Davis were there. They were playing music, and then out she walks with crystals on her head and this beautiful dress and like a dragon necklace, and like her voice soared through the audience, and it was really small. There were maybe 20-30 of us packed in there, but as I watched her from the back of the room, like I was just like so mesmerized by her. It just brought chills to me, and her poetry, her voice tone. And I immediately Googled her to see if anyone else made a documentary already, and there wasn't anything made. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this journey. And thankfully, one of the producers of the documentary actually knew her for over 15 years and is a big supporter of the Beat Museum in San Francisco. And so we took a road trip up to her Hobbit house in the Redwood Forest in Albion. And for the next several years, I kept taking trips up there to visit her. We would go walk around San Francisco together and just develop this really close friendship. You know, I'm still in my 20s, and I never knew that one of my best friends would be in their 90s. So we developed a really good friendship together, not only like filming, but also just hanging out together and watching movies and listening to stories. And so I just really, she was such a wonderful friend and mentor, and she just also really helped unlock, I think as filmmakers, especially as indie filmmakers that start out with low budgets, you know, we make stuff happen, you know, we can be creative, but sometimes not having a budget is restraining in the things that we could do. And I was really thankful for the producer who allowed me with my ideas to have a dancer in the Mojave Desert dancing to Ruth's poetry from the Desert Journal, or really out there ideas that I had for the film and supporting with the animation. And, you know, we still had a tight budget. There was still like only 2 people on the crew when we were out there, but it's like that extra something. And so Ruth really helped unlock my imagination. And I know that she inspires so many other people to just be themselves and follow your true self. And I'm really gonna miss her. Sadly, she passed away 2 weeks ago, just before the Romford Film Festival was about to start, and she knew about it, and she was looking forward to it. And I told her a lot about the Romford Festival, so I know that she's there in spirit, and I'm so grateful that you're showing the movie again. on Wednesday tomorrow. But that's definitely been an emotional ride for me. Like I said, she wasn't just a subject matter to me; she was also a good friend and mentor.
It was kind of one of the, because obviously it is it's sad to see the passing, and it was a case of, even though I didn't know anything about the woman, after watching your documentary and after seeing the way you had portrayed this lady and the way she'd portrayed herself, even when I saw it, sort of like saw the headline, I was kind of, oh man, I was like, that's, it kind of did affect me a little bit, because I'd recently just watched the documentary, which I don't know if that sounds weird because I didn't really know her, but you must be proud though, and obviously it's a sad occasion and it's a sad time, but you must be proud to have brought this to the forefront now, and to, as you say, you're now bringing a fund together and all this kind of thing for it in her name. It must be a very proud moment for you, even at the age you are. Like, you're still a very young age.
I'm definitely proud, and one of the things she said before she died was that she was proud of me too, and that I did good work on the film, and I honored her well. And just her saying that, it's like, when you make a movie about someone's life and it's like in your hands as a filmmaker, and for them to say that before they die, it's just so I'm definitely proud, and I'm happy she got to see the movie. Like we premiered it at the CineQuest this year. She got to perform. They gave her an award.
Oh, that's amazing.
We even took her to a puppet show, and they made a puppet of her, and she was so happy. And we had a great time. And like, even last year we did a big birthday celebration for her, and the year before we did another big birthday celebration for her. And we're always like trying to celebrate with her and have those experiences. And I know that we did good on her behalf, and she definitely had a good time.
You absolutely, you should be hugely proud of this. Like the age you are, you're still a young age. I mean, I'm 30 odd now. I'm my best years are behind me, I guess. But you've produced a phenomenal documentary about clearly a phenomenal woman. Like, because I've now gone back and I've read little bits and pieces about what she did through her life, purely through your documentary, which I'm hoping a lot of other people are going to do the same when they see it, because she has this charismatic quality about her that you just can't deny. She's a fantastic woman, and I'm really happy I got a chance to see this.
Thank you. I'm really happy. I hope we could screen it more in the UK. I hope.
Yeah.
We're still looking for distribution, so I hope we can get picked up somewhere so we could get it seen more. If not, I'll make it happen any other way. I'm not gonna, I have a museum exhibit plan. Screenings for that, we'll make it happen, but distributor would help.
it's not going to be a hard sell, because there's a lot of documentaries out there that don't hold water, and this one absolutely does. Just as I said, it was a subject I didn't really know anything about, and I think a lot of your style choices, as you say, fighting for the girl dancing in the Mojave Desert, it absolutely makes sense. Like, there's a point where you're sitting there thinking, why is she dancing? Why is she dancing down the street? But with the poetry in the background, with Ruth's voice in the background, it just completely makes sense. Which is, I have to hold my hat. I have to tip my hat to you on that one. It's your creative choices more than paid off tenfold.
Thank you.
Question that I did want to ask: you say you went back every now and then for a period of 7 years, recording a little bit more, getting more stories and everything. She tells a lot of stories in the movie. You portray a good chunk of her life. Were there any stories that didn't necessarily make the movie but were sort of one of your favorites? Sort of like, oh, but I can't put that in.
So many. It was so hard. Like you said, she's 92 years of an extraordinary life, and so to put that into an hour of a documentary is really hard. So there were some things that were left on the cutting board. There were more like really sweet and cute stories. I think there's a quote where she talks about now she has a lover, She at 88, and she never thought that would happen to her. And when she was in high school, no one would dance with her, and so I have the backstory to like when she was in high school, no one would want to dance with her, and so she's Jewish, and at the Jewish synagogue, she cut out paper people, and she would dance with them. And then one night, she was at a dance party in high school, and some Zoot Suiters came by during that time, and one guy like looked at her and he's like, "Do you want to dance?" And they danced the swing, and he like threw up in the air over the shoulder, and they were dance partners for a couple of years afterwards. But
Awesome.
that story of how no one wanted to dance with her, and now she's 88 with a lover, is like a great backstory. And there's so many other cute stuff, and we recorded a whole hour and a half of her performance in 4K. I only used the clips of different poems in the documentary that kind of interweave of this grand performance with her life story, but we have like a full hour and a half of that performance, which I think is the only performance recorded in 4K. So we'll definitely release that at some point. And lots of other, like, I had more haiku, and in the documentary I have her reading different parts of her haiku, so I have more of that, and I just have so much more stories, meanings behind her artwork and paintings, more about the film she directed, more about there's just so much that I couldn't fit in, but I have all the footage in the archives, and yeah.
So another 10 documentaries. Just keep making them.
Yeah.
but on that, I'm gonna wrap it up a little bit now. But on that, moving forward, we're coming out of lockdown. Well, sort of. We don't really know what the plans are yet. What are there any other subjects that you're going to tackle documentary wise, or are you going to maybe move towards making a feature of some sort? What does the future hold movie wise for Melody?
Yeah, so other than focusing on Ruth Weiss, the Beat Goddess, and California's Forgotten Children, now that they've finished and they're on to their distribution end, I have been writing like a fictional thriller, and I also am looking into what might be my next feature documentary, but I don't want to force it upon myself. I want like the right thing to come to me and the right people. But I'm looking into accessibility for people with disabilities. Is potentially, I know a lot of leaders, and I have friends who have disabilities who need accessibility, because they could do the same things we can do. You know, they're regular people just like us, and all they need is access in a different way to do the same things we can. So that's something that I'm definitely interested in, and just kind of scratching on the surface of that right now.
Cool, awesome. That's it. Sounds as well like one of the things when I read through the blurb, like your California trafficking movie, it's got to be something that touches your soul for you to make it, and that's kind of 3/4 of a selling point for any documentary for me is, did the filmmaker get involved enough? And you seem to really be personally involved in everything you do. So I'll 100% be keeping an eye on what you do next. I'll be keeping an eye on Beat Goddess and how that gets on. I just hope it does really well, and it's at our festival. It is, I believe, it's nominated for Best Documentary, so it's in that category.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful again to the Romford Film Festival for premiering the documentary, and I'm excited to send more films to the Romford Film Festival in the future. And thank you again for interviewing me, and thank you to the fans who showed up for the film on Friday, and hopefully will show up tomorrow on Wednesday. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, on our website, and we will be launching the Ruth Weiss Foundation hopefully by next month, and you'll be able to find some of her books that aren't available anywhere else. But currently, there is a book available on our film's website, Can't Stop the Beat, in partnership with her. We created it, and so half of those proceeds will go to the foundation to help support that scholarship that we'll be launching next year. So thank you.
That's awesome. That's all of that's awesome. And we as a festival, and myself as my podcast and everything, we will be keeping an eye and trying to push things as well. And we might not change your world, but we'll definitely make a dent. So